What happens when two successful entrepreneurs get together for a drink? They talk shop, of course. So grab your favorite cocktail and sit alongside Scott DeLong and Vince Moiso, two seasoned business leaders that have driven their own companies to success, as they share from their experience and dive deep into the secret sauce that can turn a company around. The CEO Podcast starts now.
Welcome to the CEO Podcast. I'm Vince Moiso, and I'm here with my friend Scott DeLong. And, we are going to talk about a hot topic today, and it's just the return to work, right? And we had a previous podcast where we talked about what the new office looks like, right? And kind of, what people are doing. But this is different. What we're talking about here is, man, what are the guidelines? I think, it can feel for some entrepreneurs, and I know I've talked to many, that it feels a little bit like the Wild West. Like, what the heck am I supposed to do? What can I do that I can make mandatory for employees? Can I make them come back to work? Do I have to allow them to telework?
What are the repercussions if we do make things mandatory? Right.
Well, and especially if you're a California corporation. So, California is the most stringent when it comes to employment law, employees, So California, the state, is typically on the side of the employee. Other states are very, very different. That being said, what's your thoughts on this whole subject?
Yeah, so my thoughts are going to be a little bit different. They're not going to be nearly as technical as they are about the people. So there's a couple thoughts that I have on that, and there's two schools of business, right? And which is one, the Herb Kelleher that says take care of the people and they'll take care of your customers, and then the other that says take care of your customers. If we don't have them, we don't have people.
Right.
So companies can choose whichever one they want, and I don't think there's a wrong answer there.
Well, I tend to follow the Herb Kelleher model.
I do too, but a lot of my clients don't.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients say we need to make sure the customer experience is the customer experiences, and now how do we do that with the employees' needs? And the employees' needs have changed based on them getting a taste of what could be.
Well, in fact, what we're experiencing right now, and again, with a lot of feedback that I've received, what we're experiencing right now is you've got employees that don't want to come back to work. And I don't mean that they don't want to do the work. They just want to work from home. They're saying, I don't want to have to come back to the office. And now that, take Southern California, or California in general, right, is as of June 15th, everything went back to, relative norm, and you could start to mandate having people back in your office, right? And employees are saying, I like working from home. And in fact, what I've heard is people are getting fired. They're getting let go of their company. Now, what makes it challenging, though, is there are companies that are saying, cool, come work for me.
Yeah, fine.
I'll let you work from home, no problem. And so they're leaving one company because of the mandate to come back physically to the office and going to work for another company.
Turnover is going to be a huge thing. In fact, a month ago, I was talking about no matter what we do, what decision we make as an organization, we're going to experience 10% turnover. Yeah. I think that number is low. I now think, based on the things that the companies we've been talking to and the employees within that turnover rate is going to be higher than that. Yeah. I think it's going to be more like 20%. Because you cannot make Shangri-La. It's not going to be perfect. No matter what we do, no matter how intense we put into this process and say, all right, this is the best we can do for our organization, you're going to have people that are unhappy with that decision, and there's going to be another company that's doing it differently, and they will go there.
Yeah.
I just saw an article the other day that stated this: 52% of your employees have their resume on the street right now.
Wow.
That doesn't mean they all want to leave, but there's 52% of the employees have their resume on the street.
That's a big statistic.
Yeah.
That's big.
That's actually scary. What happens if they leave? What happens if just 20% of them leave? How do you replace, a fifth of your workforce, or a fifth of the work that's being done by that workforce?
Okay,
so this is a bigger issue than just the legality and the all of that. Right?
Well, it is, but let's talk about some of the legalities. Let's talk about how we feel about it and what we've experienced. So if I can, I'll just start with quick experience share. And I'd say just for me personally, in the last year, I had a lot of health issues, and it was the irony of dealing with health issues during a COVID year really allowed me to maintain a high level of productivity because everybody had to be remote, right? Yeah. So everybody was quarantined, and it wasn't just me. So I didn't have to slow down in my business, and that was a big deal. And so then what did I realize? I realized, well, okay, I can be effective remotely. I can be effective from a virtual place. Now, I don't think anything's going to ever take the place of this right here.
Yeah, no,
that's human touch.
That's touch,
and that person to person, that face to face. I don't think, and I'll never suggest that it'll replace that. Mm-hmm. What I am going to suggest is this. I know for me, I'm not going to travel as much as I used to. I'm not going to go do as much face-to-face as I used to because I don't have to.
And the customer's expectations aren't that you have to either.
Thank you. That has changed as much. So what you talked about earlier was this, is whether you follow that customer model or the employee model, right? Put employees first versus customer first. Mm-hmm. I don't care which model you follow. The reality is that customers' expectations have changed, employee expectations have changed. Therefore, I'm going to give my very strong opinion on this matter, and I want to preface this with, this is my opinion. The hybrid model is where it's at. I think you have to, as an organization, figure out a way to accommodate your talent and still have, an effective office space at the same time, and bring back those people that are key to being at the office or want to be at the office. I think you allow for that to happen, and you also allow this telework or this remote working at the same time. In fact, that is what I've implemented, and I can, I want to get your opinion first, sure. And I can certainly share what has worked and what hasn't for me.
So here's what I wonder. I mean, you're using the word effective, and I'm wondering if the word shouldn't be efficient instead of effective, because there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness, right?
Yeah.
And I think the effectiveness piece might be missing a little bit when we don't get this face to face, this all this. Can we be efficient? Yep, we can get the work done. All of that. What's missing is some of the collaboration, right? And the ability to. Like, we can do this podcast remotely. You could be at your house, I can be at my house, and we can just do it remotely.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the same impact.
It doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? Well, one, because we're enjoying a beer and having a good time.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it's like on Zoom. It's just here's what happens in meetings. On Zoom, people are being polite. They wait for someone else to talk. They sit back. They don't jump in. They don't engage. They don't say, yeah, but they don't. They don't do that.
They're multitasking, and they're checking their phone, and they're checking emails, and they're not, they're not dressed appropriately. And it's like they've taken the meeting, differently than they would if we were face to face. So I think there's all sorts of criteria and etiquette that I believe has to change. And what a business has to do to adjust is create an agreement. So let me continue my experience share a little bit here. So the other day with my EO group, as I mentioned to you previously, is that I got to attend this really great luncheon that was around the legalese, the law, the California law, employment law around this whole subject around COVID-19, what that looks like, whether you can mandate vaccination, wearing a mask, all that other stuff. Yeah. And then what telework looks like, and can you force people to come back to the office? Can you even do that? The answer is actually yes. I mean, you actually can make vaccination mandatory, exception being, for religious purposes, or if you have medical reasons for not, right. So things like that. So there are exceptions to that. And you can actually mandate that people come back to the office. And in fact, what I've experienced with some businesses is that, people are letting people go. They're firing people for refusing to come back to work.
Or the opposite.
If
you mandate I come back. I don't want to come back. I'm not coming, or I can't come back.
I'm going to put my resume on the street.
When you, especially when you're talking about childcare and all those other issues. I saw another study the other day on the disparity and the gender gap that's going to be happening because of this. That's going to like women have been trying to break barriers, and they've been getting closer. It hasn't been perfect yet, but I think this is going to create more of that because last year with kids having to stay home and work, do their school from home, made it even more difficult. So there's not a great answer. There's just not a great answer. What we have to do is evolve. Yeah, we have to evolve. And humans are built for that. It's great. We can evolve. We got to figure out what's going to happen. My concern is the turnover rate. Can you really afford 20% of your workforce leaving?
Well, forget about that. It's like, what about the talent? You're going to let talent go? Like, if you've got this key person in a position that's super talented, that's really not only effective but efficient in what they do,
it's going to cost you to keep them.
You're going to let them go?
Nah, well, so that person's got their resume on the street. Or at least 52% of those people have their resume on the street. But they're getting offers from other folks that have this wonderful new vision of what they're going to be. Going to pay them a little bit more because they're trying to lure them from you to keep them. What's it going to cost you?
Well, Scott, you and I are believers in people. We believe that people drive the business. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I think the best thing that you said is that companies have to evolve. And this is why I'm so adamant about creating this hybrid model, because I think you can find that happy medium with your key people where, maybe they're coming in 2 to 3 days out of the week and you're allowing them a couple days out of the week to work from home. And so I don't want to ever diminish the impact and the efficiency and the effectiveness of that face-to-face interaction and being physically in the office. I think all of that is really important. And I think you can find a happy medium that keeps your people happy at the same time. Look, here's the bottom line.
I'm going to argue a little bit.
Happy employee is a productive employee.
Yes, that's right.
Right? And,
that's right.
And if ultimately we're going after profitability, you want productive employees. And I'm just a believer that in order to get a productive employee, you got to keep that employee happy. And so now they've tasted something that they hadn't tasted before.
That's right.
Right? So it's like having a good beer, having Pliny for the first time in the last episode, Scott. Welcome to Pliny the Elder. That's not what we're drinking right now, but
this is not quite as good.
You got your first taste of Pliny the Elder, and it's hard to go back to these other IPAs that you've had that you might have thought was really good. But that's what I'm talking about. Is you get this taste of something different, and now you're going to ask them to go back to.
So we could talk politics on that.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk politics.
Go into that. Is once you have given somebody something, taking it away is near impossible.
Yeah.
Because they'll vote for the people that promise to continue to give it to them.
Yeah.
The other company, the political process, whatever it's going to be, right? So now that we've given people something, trying to take that away. Now, and there's a whole nother side of that as well. Is there are the lonely people that want to interact. I want to go back to work.
There are.
I want to go back into the office because I love people.
Yeah.
Right? The engagement, the thrill of the debate, the collaboration, all that stuff is really important to some folks as well.
Well,
getting away from the kids is important for some folks.
So here's what I got for you, Scott. I'm really happy for you that you had Pliny the Elder in our last episode.
Thanks.
You can never have it again.
Yeah, no, sorry. You lose.
This is what we're dealing with, right?
So I can't do this podcast anymore.
No.
You're telling me I'm doing that. So I'm going to take my resume, hit the street, and go find Pliny.
Find someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we're faced with, right? And here's the other part. What the customer expectations. We already said that in the sales world, right? We're going out meeting customers, that their expectations have changed somewhat.
It's changed.
But the customer service expectations have not changed.
No.
Customer service expectations have not changed, and they will penalize us if we give them less service than what they think they expect.
That's right.
Right?
So how do you do that? So I want to give. So I also want to give some nuggets, right, in this conversation. I think it's important. And what I've learned is internally, you got to have this telework or this remote working. You got to have an agreement in place. You have to outline, and we've talked about this before, how important it is for people to understand and have clarity on their role and responsibility. So if you're going to allow, whether that's partial remote working, full-time remote working, whatever that looks like, you need to have an agreement in place internally such that it outlines what the expectations are.
Including who qualifies.
Who qualifies for that.
Because there may be some employees that I can implicitly trust to be able to do great work, and others that I need to manage a little bit differently in order to get the same level or close to that level, right?
Now, you don't have to have, conversely, you don't have to have this new agreement about coming back to work. So that was in place previously, right? So in other words, like if there's certain positions, operation positions, warehouse positions, if you're into distribution or manufacturing or things like that, okay, these guys have to be on the floor, right?
You touching a product.
You can't work remote, right? So there is that requirement for them to be there. That was there before, so there's not something new that you have to put in place.
No, but what is new is that they see, those same people that are touching things see that the others get to be on vacation all the time.
Well,
that's how their mindset.
There is a perception of that, and I think that's the other problem that you deal with internally, which hence the reason we talk about transparency, right? Hence the reason why you have to give visibility across the board to everybody on what these policies and agreements are that are in place and why they're in place and what those expectations are when people are teleworking, working remotely. Is that great? I've developed and established what the expectations are for that role and responsibility if you're going to be remote. And then that gives, some ease to those people that do have to come in and physically be there. They're not wondering now what someone else is doing.
Yeah. So I'm working with a company right now that is going through this process and thinking about what is right for the organization. Yeah. Organization, and their method is organization first, customers, and then the employees. Not far behind, but the employees matter, right? They think that as well. And one of the questions that came up with this subcommittee that I'm working with was, well, is this a forever solution? There's no such thing as a forever solution. We're going to do the best we can right now, and we're going to learn from whatever mistakes that we create with this thing that we've done. Management's not stupid, right? They're going to say, "Oh, this isn't working. We need to adjust fast." Right? And the good part about this organization is that they're asking employees. Now, management has the right to make the final decision, but they're asking employees what they think. All right, how does that work? Tell me about the benefits of that. Tell me about the issues that might be created within the organization for that. Yeah. And what are some of the potential solutions? I'm asking you for the solutions now, too. Not just, I want to work from home. Good. Tell me about that. Yeah. Tell me more. How would that work in this scenario? And they're getting the employees, and why I really like this is because, back to that word buy-in, getting the employees to buy into that. Thing. Oh, crap. The customer's going to want this. That means I'm going to have to do, I can do that. Great. Let's do it then. Right? So they're going to go forward with that. So this is a really, it's going to be a good case study. We're going to have some solutions coming up in the fourth quarter or third quarter, into third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, we're going to go back and verify and check and make sure that we're doing the right thing with this as well. And we'll report what's happening here. Yeah, and you've got to create the written procedure too. So, I said that it's like developing those expectations, putting those expectations on paper, and communicating those expectations. But not just paper. No, making sure people understand. Well, the buy-in. So it goes back, 100%. So it goes back to... We heard you. You talk about that buy-in. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we need your help. Well, here's the problem that it creates. So, like, if you've got remote employees that are hourly, for example, big issue, right? Big issue in California, because what if they're sending emails at 9 o'clock at night? They're on the clock, right? Is a big issue. It's a big issue, right? And so, if you don't establish those procedures and you don't establish those clear expectations and you don't give visibility around that, it's not explained, you don't have buy-in on all of that,
you are going to have some challenges because you don't have a person that's physically there and you see that they're physically there. And then when they leave, you physically see when they leave, right? This is different. Now, it's very easy because you've got these, online platforms that allow you to clock in and clock out. And, that's easy. It's actually fairly simple to the procedure itself. It's fairly simple to implement. It's all about execution. We talked about it before. It's all about the execution.
I think it's more than that. I think it's mindset as well.
Yeah.
Is if I'm asking you about say you work for me, right? And I'm asking you about a problem. Am I micromanaging you or offering my support? Right. And it doesn't matter how I say it, it's how you hear it. That matters, right? Yeah. There's going to be a different level of management, a different way to manage these employees. And we need to figure out and find out how that employee needs it versus that employee needs it.
Well, I'll tell you how I handle it, and you're absolutely right. This is a great part. I feel like we could have a whole side discussion on just that.
We will.
Because you know what? There is this level of different and I don't want to call it micromanagement because it really isn't. But the management style has to be different when they're out of sight, out of mind versus sitting right in front of you. And so, because here's the change. The change is I don't physically see you. And I don't physically see everything that you're doing. Therefore, there's a high level of trust that I'm placing in this employee to work remotely, be professional, and be productive. Yeah. And so now you have to create, measures and metrics and things like that make you feel comfortable that this employee is actually getting the work done that they say that they're getting done. And so that's where I think the buy-in becomes very important. I think creating the environment and the culture and the expectation. This goes back to our last podcast. We talked about a culture of accountability. We talked about how do we strategic plan, the platform that I use, which is Lead with Purpose. Okay, all of that allows for me to have remote employees and have a metric in place onto whether or not they're getting the stuff done that I need.
So here's the part that might be missing from that, and it shouldn't be, and we have to account for that. And that is and there's not a single organization that I work with that doesn't have this in their platform somewhere. The associates or employees, however you want to call them, personal and professional growth.
Yeah.
There's now another layer. If I'm not seeing you every day, how am I helping coaching? How am I helping training, coaching, building, so that you can have what we've claimed is personal and professional growth of our associates?
Yeah. It changes the how you conduct weekly meetings and the frequency in which you have meetings and the one-on-one meetings and the things like that. So again, the dynamic is different. Therefore, doing the same thing that you did before is complete insanity because you can't, because it's a different scenario, it's a different situation, and you've got to create ways to communicate at a higher level to ensure that, let's just talk about this because I think we're being very company centric right now. And let's be a little people centric and let's put our let's jump in the shoes of the person that wants to work remote and feels like they are productive and efficient when they're working remotely. Okay, well, great. They also feel, even though they are working remote, that makes them happy, they're disconnected from the business.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah. And so now it becomes our job to connect them to the business. Well, so how do we do that, right? How are we going to do that? And a lot of it is with the one-on-one, the meetings, making sure that they're in and participating and engaged with the business at a high level. And it's having that visibility and transparent culture and all this stuff so that they feel very, very connected. And in fact, I will tell you this because I know I've experienced it. I'm going to give you feedback from remote employees that I have, which is they said when I pulled them in June of this year after we had, our second or third, on-site big meeting, right, where it was virtual, okay, they said they've never felt more connected to the company.
Well, you're doing something right. Hopefully they're saying the truth, their truth, right? But you're doing something right, because most people are feeling disconnected. Most of the people that I'm seeing in the studies and the polls that I've seen are starting to feel disconnected. And it's not, people are trying things like the virtual happy hour and this and that, and fine.
But that doesn't connect them, Scott.
Fine.
I'm not doing virtual happy hours. I'm not doing any of that bullshit.
It is.
And that's what they think, but that's not what connects them to the business. What connects them to the business is all the stuff that we talk about. It's giving them clear direction. It's giving them role and responsibility. It's recognizing them for doing a great job.
That's right.
Giving them feedback and staying in contact. That's what keeps people connected to the business. And if you're not doing those things, then yeah, of course they're not connected to the business.
That keeps them connected to the manager, and now the manager needs to figure out a way to keep them connected to the business. And I think for me, that is, here's your effect on the organization, not just within the department, and just how you and I are getting along, right, and all of that. So, but there's more to that. There's the one-on-one, there's the one to the company, then there's the one to the many, because we do need teams still. Yeah. We still need teams, and even cross-functional teams. And that's going to be the most difficult part. How is the accounting department working with the sales department? Yeah. That's going to be much more difficult. You're going to start seeing more and more silos unless we solve for that. And how do you solve for that? You solve for that by connecting folks.
So that's absolutely right.
You solve for it by connecting them.
You got to cut that off at the neck. Get rid of the silos. They don't work. Here's the bottom line. It's a new world. The rules of the game, in my opinion, they've changed, and you've got to adapt and evolve as a business to keep your key people happy and connected to the business. And so if you haven't done that, that train already left the station. So you better start running after it because you really have to adapt. And I think taking a hard line one way or the other is not the way to go. Nope. I think you've got to be flexible and you have to adapt. That's really my opinion on that.
So I'm going to go back to the word that I used earlier, and I like this word, and this evolution. It's not a revolution, it's an evolution, and we need to start evolving. For those that evolution is typically a slow process. We don't have the time for that. We need to move this forward. Yeah. And adjust, learn and adjust, learn and adjust, learn and adjust, continually doing that. Yeah. So back to that employee's, person on this committee's question, is this going to be a permanent solution? It's going to be permanent until we need to change it.
Right.
That's what it's got to be. Yeah. Until we decide this is not working for our customers, for our people, for our organization. Organization first, great. But we need to do what's working for the people. If I make a decision and I find out that those 52% of the people that have their resumes on the street left, I made a bad decision. Yeah. I need to adjust now. Yeah. I can't afford for the other 48% to leave either. Yeah. Because when they find out that there is a possibility, their resumes are going to go on the street too. Yeah. 52% of the 48 is going to be on the street.
Yeah, it's toxic. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it carries over. Well, as always, we want to hear from you. What's going on with your business? What do you think about this particular topic? What are you experiencing? And what questions do you have for us? So please ask away. Reach out to us. You can hit the website and certainly contact us with any of your questions or comments. Scott, what are we drinking here?
So we're going to an old stable, and this is Stone Brewery, and this is the Stone IPA. It's a classic. They are one of the original microbreweries that did really well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure.
So you go down to Escondido, they've got the coolest
tasting room. Yeah.
Not just a tasting room, but they've got an experience.
Yeah, it is an experience.
And the downside is it takes an hour and a half to get home from there. Who's driving?
Yeah.
That's my problem with going down there too often.
Yeah, I need a DD for sure.
Yeah, you definitely need one. It's a beautiful place. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Let us know what you think. We want to hear where you think we're full of it. All right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's not a right answer here.
Yeah.
Do the best you can. Cheers.
Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Thank you for joining us for the CEO Podcast. To learn more about Scott and Vince, please visit theceopodcast.net and check out the calendar to tune in for our next episode. While on the site, you can also listen to past episodes, access additional content created for our listeners, and if you would like to dive deeper into any topic, there is an option to schedule some time with Scott or Vince. Thanks for listening.